Welcome to the Mom CEO podcast. I'm your host, Esther Roach. Join me as we explore the dynamic intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship. From the challenges to the triumphs, we're here to unravel it all. Get ready for insightful conversations, practical wisdom, and a whole lot of inspiration. Let's embark on this empowering journey together. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mom CEO podcast. I'm your host, Esther Roach, and today I'm joined by Dani, who is the founder of Misfit Wanders. Hello, Dani, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, you're very welcome. So if you'd like to just introduce yourself and what you do to the audience, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. So I am Dani Rosenblad James. Originally, I'm from the States, but nowadays I live in Sweden and have for 6 years now. I am a travel blogger, an influencer, um, a, a mind and body coach, a speaker, and an author with an upcoming book. Oof,
So
few
that's
things.
quite a few things, isn't there? You left one thing though, Dani. You're a
Did
mom.
I?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm a mom. I have the most important job, and ah, forgive me.
No, that's absolutely fine. Your hands must be full though. You know, how old is your son?
He is 3 years old and he just turned three almost a month ago.
Oh wow. So you really have your hands full.
Yeah, definitely. He is. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. If you'd like to, you've mentioned quite a lot of things that you do.
Mhm.
I'm going to try and break it down so that we can talk about the holistic well-being, mind and body coaching, and then we're also going to look at the travel side of things. But one of the things I wanted to obviously ask you was to do with your healing journey and, what got you into the mind and body coaching.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had a traumatic brain injury, and that was about 10 years ago now. And that was life altering for me. I mean, at the time, I was actually a weed farmer for 5 years up in Northern California. And then on my way there, I got into a 7 car pileup, and that was in Wyoming. Visibility was less than a mile. I was the last one there, and all I can remember is going, "Oh no!" And then I hit one of the vehicles, and then my small truck turned into more of a convertible because the whole top was like ripped off, which also got the top of my head. So I had a huge gash. And my dog was with me. Luckily, he was okay, and I got him afterwards and everything. But oh, it was a rough time, and I had so much blood coming out of me. I'm so lucky that I didn't have to have blood transfusion. So what happened was the sheriff that had found me had called, and I had to have a helicopter come take me from there so I could go to Salt Lake City, Utah to get the help that I needed.
Mm.
And I was in ICU for 10 days. I pretty much had to relearn how to walk and use my brain. Um, I remember after the 3 days when I finally came to because they induced me in a coma, um, I was very lost feeling and didn't understand what was going on or what happened or anything. And I just heard this voice inside me and it said, "This is but a moment." And that's what drove me to keep pushing forward. I mean, I don't know where I would be without that voice within me saying that because that gave me the light that I needed,
Yeah.
especially at the right time. And in that same instance, the doctors really wanted to give me medicine to help with the pain and all these things. And I kept saying adamantly, no, no,
Mm.
because I wanted to feel what my body could do and what it couldn't. And so nowadays, as I look back there to that time, I realized how important it was to listen to your body. And that's why I'm teaching mind and body coaching.
Oh wow, it doesn't seem like quite well, it's quite a traumatic experience to have gone through and to actually come out on the other side and help other people recover and with everything else. How
Yeah.
did how long did it take you to sort of get to the stage where you're at now to sort of help other people as well?
Oh man. So it's just been recently where I realized that my journey could help others because I've been talking on so many podcasts, and every time I talk about this story, it has inspired so many people. And then I realized, wait, I could help people this way. And so it's just recently that I've started becoming a mind and body coach. And I'm also writing an upcoming book that's loosely based on my traumatic brain injury because I know that is also a great way to help other people to realize, like, give them the insights that, hey, you're not alone, or this is how it went for me. Because I mean, I've looked at many of the books out there when it comes to traumatic brain injuries, but it seems like it's given in more of a doctor's perspective and not the actual person that's going through it. And there are a couple maybe I read that it was like a psychiatrist or someone with a PhD that had the traumatic brain injury happen to them, but it's like their perspective is still different than your average person that
Yeah.
does not know any of that kind of stuff when it's happening. So I thought this would be a great way to help other people in another way.
Oh wow. And it's interesting there that you mentioned about obviously having your own book, which is based on your own life experience, not being a doctor yourself, because like you said, it's quite different how things are sort of relayed or
Yeah.
brought out when you are not an expert in that field, but certainly you're an expert in terms of you've lived that experience and come through on the other side, isn't it?
Hmm.
Oh wow. It's yeah, I have no idea. The resilience though, it's just that sheer determination of working and getting you through to where you're at today. So what kind of things do you do with the coaching? Do you do sort of online, or do what sort of services do you offer around that area?
Hmm. So it's online.
Mhm.
So I meet up with I meet up with my clients. Let's see, it would be once a week or once every other week,
Okay.
and we discuss what would work for them for modalities. So I've tried several different kinds, and what I do does not always mean it's going to work for the other person
Mhm.
because everyone's brain and personalities and everything is different. So that's why we try out different things like gratitude lists, win-win jar. There's where we work on staying positive and seeing the brighter side of things because every situation in life there's always two sides to it. So it's like if you're having a really terrible time going through something really hard, you have to try to find the good in there because there's always good. No matter how bad it seems, there is good in there. It might take you a while to find it, but when you do, you'll be so relieved and be like, yes, okay, I wasn't crazy.
No, absolutely. And like you said, I do like what you said there about what works for you doesn't always work for somebody else. And I think that's so, so important, even in terms of just running a business, because you can't help everybody. And it's having that, knowing that fine line of thinking, okay, this is my limitation or this is what I've done, but obviously you have to try other things to try and help yourself out. So
Yeah.
that's really, really important. And with regards to, obviously the mind body coaching, I know you do a lot with like holistic well-being. What other things do you sort of incorporate to sort of help others?
Yeah. So I highly suggest meditation and yoga because when I was healing, I didn't even know it at the time, but now since I've reflected and done the writing the book and all that stuff, I've realized that I was meditating in my own way. So it's like someone would be staring at me thinking that I was really out of it, just zoning out there. But no, what I was actually doing was I was meditating within myself and I was healing myself. And when I say that, I'm like, wow, I sound a little nuts, but that's literally what I was doing. Because you see, if you knew me back then and you see me how I am now, your mind would be blown because I've done so much with my body, my mental state, and everything. Like in the past, I was very slow at talking, slow at moving, and nowadays I can have a regular, genuine conversation with smart words and things like that. Um, yeah, but back then I would probably be stuck trying to have this conversation this whole time, probably.
Oh, wow. it does show, obviously, how much you've actually progressed and moved on. Um, but on top of everything else, before I move on to the travel and the influencing, you then have a son.
Yes.
How does that work?
So he's 3 years old. So let's see. I think right before I had him and all that stuff when we were thinking about it, I think I was in a good headspace. Like mentally and physically, I felt good. So if I wouldn't have been able to have a son after 5 years of healing.
Mm-hmm.
No, because I wasn't ready. I wasn't fully there with my mind. I had a lot of head pains, and I think it was not until 8 years later of healing that I felt more like me as I could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when the little guy was decided.
And generally, like, obviously, I know you do work from home as well.
Hmm.
How do you do it? How do you manage it all?
Yeah, so Sweden's pretty awesome when it comes to kids. Uh they have it where kids go to their daycare at 1 year old,
Oh,
and their daycare is pretty much like a school. So the kid gets to learn 1 year to 5 or 6 years old in the preschool daycare place. And it's pretty cheap too, so it's manageable in that sense as well. So it's like I have a regular job then, so I can just be at home and do like 8 to 3 or whatever, and then I go pick up the boy. So
it's fairly manageable then. And
yeah,
have you got a lot of family support? Because obviously you've moved from the States. How
yeah,
is that side of things?
yeah. So my mom kind of moved with me. Like she comes here half of the year, and she lives with us half of the year, and then when winter time comes, she's like, I'm out. But yeah, so that's nice that she's here. And then my husband, his mom and dad are around as well. And then his two brothers are also around. So, oh, and across the street, we have his one brother with his two kids. So we get to have a lot of play dates, and our kids love each other. So that's great.
Yeah, no, that it's so important though, having that network and having that family support. So you're quite lucky then, because a lot of people I speak to, they've moved and they don't have any family around. So it's relying on, other moms and just have building that community around you. So that's absolutely fantastic that you have that support with, when you do all the 50 things you're doing. Just so I just want to have a little sort of go back a little bit and just find out. So, how long have you been running Misfit Wonders? When did you start?
Oh, I think I've had that for 6 or 7 years now.
Okay.
So I started that. I actually technically started it before my accident, but at that time it was just a personal journal online. And it wasn't until after my accident, I think a couple years later after the accident, then I realized, wait, I could turn this into a business. And then I started changing what I wrote about and made it more accommodating to travel blogs and that kind of niche stuff.
Oh, and just so to give some information and context to the audience, what kind of things do you cover with your? It's not just ordinary travel, is it?
No, it's not. So I'm very much about eco-friendly travel.
Yeah.
And with that, I help people realize that they can do the smallest things to help to be eco-friendly. And that's just having like a reusable water bottle with you or reusable silverware or just little things like that as well. I also talk about a lot of hikes and outdoor adventures because I'm a huge nature lover, because this was a huge thing that helped me while I was recovering from my accident.
So, do you generally do quite a lot of traveling now? Now that you're back on your feet, or you did?
Uh, yes, I'm still doing traveling. My son, I think he's been to 5 or 6 countries now. So
Wow.
I'm pretty excited about that because he's only 3. Because my my reason for wanting to do this with him is because I want to help him have a broad perspective and open mind and realize that there are all these different kinds of cultures, all these different kind of people. And I think that is a great way to help him realize that is to be in those different places.
No, and that's so important. We do holiday quite a lot, and I think you can't beat giving the children that opportunity because, like you know, those are the kind of things. Yes, you can learn geography, but without being physically in that place and experiencing it, you don't really remember or see the value of what you can get, you know, and the differences, I suppose, from all the different parts. And you know, when you, because obviously you changed after the accident to make it into a proper business, but what is the inspiration?
So the inspiration of me creating the travel blog came from my first solo trip out of the US, and that was to Peru.
Right.
And when I went on that trip, I fell in love with the culture and all those experiences I had. I mean, I learned how to fish for fish with machetes, and we caught, I think, 8 fish. And we got to eat them in the camp when we were in the Amazons. And we also got to swim in the Amazons with some locals. And yeah, we got to experience all these things that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
Oh wow. And what is, you know, with the, what else do you, apart from just doing the blogs, you do assist people as well? What kind of things do you help with other people that are trying to sort of be eco-friendly and plan their holidays?
hmm So, if somebody reaches out to me and they need help with that, I give them suggestions on making it work. That usually comes down to money, budgeting, things like that. So then I'll mention like workaway, backpackers, world packers, there's couch surfing. Yeah, there's loads of different opportunities out there. There's where you can, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's where you, oh, house swap, where you can just swap houses with someone else in a different country. And all these ways, it helps you save money along with experiencing the new cultures and country.
Oh wow. And where, because obviously the house swap, I've not heard of it myself. So that's really interesting to say, you know, there be things like that that could definitely help, especially from the saving money perspective. But where can people find you for, you know, obviously the travel stuff? You know, where do you hang out on that?
So with my travel stuff, you can find me on my website, misfitwanders.com. You can find me on Instagram, and that's Misfit Wanders, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, kind of all over the place.
Yeah, so and it's the same handle, isn't it? Misfit Wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
that's fine. And I just wanted to ask a little bit more about your upcoming book. When is that out, and what sort of things have you covered in your book?
Yeah. So my book is going to be coming out at the end of August, and that's the ebook version. The physical copy is going to be coming out in September sometime. And this book is definitely an eye opener on my life in the past and my healing journey. So the first chapter starts off pretty brutal because it's when my accident happened, and I have it in a first perspective, and the people that are reading it, they get to experience it from my point of view and everything. So it can be a little hard for some. I know that I had a friend read it and he was like, I was in tears because he's like, you survived that. I'm like, yeah. And every other chapter, I kind of go in the past because the reader, I want them to understand the person I was before the accident.
Yeah.
And then they get to see me on my healing journey because I think that's a great way for them to fully understand that, hey, I wasn't like that before. I was actually like this. So they get a better perspective on what kind of person I am.
Yeah, and where are you going to have the book? Where is it going to be available from as well?
It's going to be on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I don't really know how many bookstores it's going to be in. I have She Rises publishing company that's taking care of all that for me.
Now, what I'll do is obviously when your episode goes out, I will put all the links. And if anybody's on a similar journey and just wants to obviously get that help and sort of read from your perspective, then they will have that link to be able to get the book. And if they want to contact you for the travel, they can do the same as well. But it's
Perfect.
showing like a lot of just a lot of resilience, really, from your perspective. What sort of advice would you have for somebody else who thinks, well, this is it. I'm not going to do I can't do it.
I would say positivity is key.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay positive. I mean, it could always, always be worse. Like, for instance, for me, I found out that I was almost decapitated. If I was taller, I would have lost my head. Another thing I learned, I had fractured my neck. I was almost paralyzed for the rest of my life. And when I got that news, that's when I became so full of gratitude because I realized my life could have been stuck in a bed or in a wheelchair for forever. And that would be so heartbreaking for me because I love hiking. I love going out in the doors. I love using my legs.
But you did overcome all that, though, because when you look at it, with the situation, where you were and where you're at now, and even being able to bring a life into the world, that is tough. But you've
Yeah,
done it.
that's true. Yeah. And sometimes I forget that, oh yeah, I did go through all that stuff. Oh yes, now I remember.
Yeah, but it is hard going, and it's like you said, it's having you've got to have such a very, very strong positive mind, because otherwise you're just going to falter. You won't break through to the other side if you just think, well, this is it, really.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to believe in yourself and you really have to, you can't doubt yourself like at all. I mean, of course, I had my days where I just stayed in bed and cried and had those times where I was like that, where I felt this was it. But the next day, I pushed myself to get out and pushed myself to go outside and do things and do something to make myself feel like I'm use or being able to be independent of some kind or
Mm.
something like that. Like, yeah, it was truly horrible and difficult to deal with at times, but I still had that voice, like I told you, this is but a moment. And it wasn't like it just did it one time. I heard that several times throughout my life when I was healing. And that I'm so thankful that I had that because that helped me move forward, especially on those really hard, hard days.
Yeah, no, it just sounds like it, because you obviously had that determination and just that positivity to keep going through. And one of the other things I was going to ask you, from previous was, when you started feeling like your healing is sort of working and you're getting there along the journey, did you actually try to go back to work, or you just, that was it, you just decided to start your business?
Oh, so I think I went back to business after 2 months
Oh,
of healing because I was determined to get back on that farm and help because I knew they needed help. And nobody wanted me to do that because they saw how much pain I was in. I could only do an hour of work a day and my whole body would be in so much pain. So I was so thankful that my friend, who now is my husband, he helps me go to bed and stay in bed when I was in so much pain because I would have kept working and working until I probably would have hurt myself more than anything.
mm.
So I'm very thankful that he was in my life at the right time and would help me go to bed when I should.
No, it's interesting, because for some reason it was in the back of my mind, because I was thinking, I don't think you just sat down and just waited for 8 years to heal doing.
Yep. That's not me. That's for sure.
Yeah,
No,
but
I think it was the first year as well that I went on Yosemite Falls hike, and that's a pretty difficult hike. And I didn't realize that until recently that that was a difficult hike. And it took me, I think, about double the time to do because I was in so much pain and I had to take breaks the whole way up because of the pounding in my head and the tears and everything. But I was as you said, I was determined to get to that top. And when I got to that top, I think that was the best view I've ever seen and still is to this day because of what I had to overcome.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, it's I think it's quite important that you kind of like know where you're at and you knew what would help you because it's all easy and for someone to say, okay, just sit there, you can't go and do anything. But I think that's probably worse because you're kind of like getting really worked out and so bored and not really utilizing your mind to get your mind off what's currently happening, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I actually have a mentor. She was telling me that she had 4 organ failures and she had to write letters to her family and everything. And she was in the hospital. She had this voice inside her saying, breathe, just breathe. So she took off the oxygen tank and just breathed herself. And then she checked herself out of the hospital because she realized being surrounded by all this was just all this negativity, all these people that believed she was going to die. And then she went home and she finally started healing and feeling better. And she said, of course, it was bloody hard because she had to like breathe for herself, stay on the couch, not do so much, but she started healing. And um, yeah, that's what she needed, and she knew it. And it's hard to listen to what our bodies need when we have these people with PhDs that tell us, oh no, you need to rest, you need to do this or this. But it's like we know our bodies because it's our body, and our body is different than another person's and another person's. And it's just hard for me just to believe, just to give up and not try. I mean, what's the point of not trying? There's what's going to happen if you don't try? You're going to get hurt worse? Maybe. But if you don't try, you're going to always have that feeling of what if I tried? And then you kind of limit what you can do when you get in that mindset as well, because you believe that, oh, I can't get any better. That's just like how it was with my hiking. I think if I had turned around and gave up, I
Mm.
would have limited myself, and then I would think that I would never be able to do that. But since I kept pushing and going forward, I realized that I could, even though it was the first year of my healing. I still was able, even though it was so horribly, horribly painful, I still did it. So,
Oh wow. But the bottom line though with everything you were doing, you did do it and to a limitation, if that makes sense. You stopped when you felt you had to stop and sort of listen to your body as well, isn't it? Rather than just going and like you said earlier, causing more damage and stuff. So
yeah.
just yeah, I just just such an incredible sort of story really of resilience and just the journey of healing from what you obviously experienced back then. But like I just look at it, you've got your own self to deal with, but I'm also still so amazed that after everything, you then, carry a pregnancy, have a son, and it's hard because it's not easy being a mom, is it? It's not just you're looking after somebody else, and it's just trying to get everything to balance and work, and it's just amazing. So you're
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it definitely was an eye opener having a kid because I know everyone said, "Oh, say goodbye to sleep." And I'm like, "Aha, nah." And like, "Oh, yeah, that was a big deal with our kid when he was small." I was like, "I need sleep."
And it passes though, eventually it passes.
Yeah.
Just like it's adjusting to them until everything balances out and they're all settled and everything, so it works out in the end. You're
Yeah.
used to it.
Yes, definitely.
No, it's been absolutely brilliant having you on the show, Dani. And if you can just remind the audience again where they can find you. And what I'll do is when your episode goes out, I am gonna put the links in there as well. And also encourage the audience to look for your book and reach out if they want to find out anything about eco traveling and the whole travel blog that you do as well. So if you just remind us where they can find you.
Yeah, thank you. So you can find me at misfitwanders.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and that's all Misfit Wanders.
Lovely. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it's been great talking with you.
Thank you.